What is going on, YouTubers? Welcome to another video. So, after much deliberation, consideration, chatting with friends, this is the going forward plan for Marvel DC. You know, I did some Photoshops, which I'll show you guys at the end of the video, but I wanted to discuss what we are going to be doing, you know, because I had sort of given the idea of a bust wall here, but then that like completely ruins the DC setup in many ways, in like every way almost. But I want to be able to keep kind of everything. And I think I've got it to that point where we do a tiny bit of sacrifices in a few areas, but it does ultimately allow me, you know, more or less an ultimate setup for Marvel and DC. So let's talk about it. So first off, DC 1/3 is going to remain here all the way up until this shelf. So we're going to easily be able to fit Darkseid, Steppenwolf. Keep in mind, right now, I have these spaced out quite a bit. When I squeeze them together, which I can still view them perfectly, by the way, because they're bases, I can fit Shazam right there. You know, so we can easily fit Shazam on this shelf. So let's just say don't consider Shazam there. He'll be right here. On this shelf, you could fit, you know, 3 statues. Darkseid, Steppenwolf, and Black Adam. So the idea would be to do Black Adam here, Steppenwolf, Darkseid. So we'll be able to get all my DC 1/3 in a row. And right there, I will show you a picture. I've already moved it. We're going to do Queen Studios Thanos bust. This works for several reasons. One, it's right above Queen Thanos, which, you know, gives me that look I like. 2, that is a separate shelf, a separate garage shelf, so acts as a good separator from DC, as well as it's still part of like the whole bust look, and it's next to Darkseid, which I think looks awesome. So you'll have Thanos next to Darkseid, and I think that will be a good transition to DC. So we'll do Thanos bust there. Now Thanos is a wide bust, but he does fit there actually perfectly. But by removing him, and we'll remove the Thor hammer, Captain Shield, scoot Hulk all the way to the right. All the way to the right. That is going to allow me to do 2 and 2 here. Just like below have 2 and 2. Because right now the problem is you have Hulk and Thanos, which are both very wide busts. And it's preventing me from doing 2 and 2. But the idea is we want to do 2 and 2. And I think the best way to do it is to have Hulk to the right, having his giant traps hanging off to the right side. And that would easily give space right there for Doctor Strange bust, which works great because Doctor Strange was like literally the beginning of Infinity War, the one that met Hulk. Then right there is going to be Queen Loki new bust, the new Loki. Loki next to Doctor Strange works good, you know, met in Thor 3, and then Thor will go right where Loki's at. You know, so in essence, it's kind of like a Thor 3 Infinity War transition display, because Thor next to Loki, brothers, you know, along with Doctor Strange and Hulk, that's like the 4 main MCU characters of Thor 3. And I think that will look absolutely fantastic. And if Thor needs to, he can go even more to the left, because we're actually going to move Hulkbuster and Iron Man. And what we're going to do is 2 busts right here. We're going to do Iron Man Mark 7, Captain America bust. And by only doing 2 busts, it will, you know, granted Captain America bust is very wide, but that should work very nicely. And I'll probably move those 2 props just on that shelf right there, like near Cap and Thor. Thor near his Stormbreaker and the Mjolnir next to him. It should look really good. In essence, I'll have the Trinity together. And then we're still getting Pepper Potts. She's going to come because it's part of my display and I think it looks good. We're doing everything in pairs. I love pairs and pieces that, you know, go together, you know, and having like a Thor 3 display, a Trinity display, you know, and all these pair very nicely. You know, Black Panther was helping hide Vision. Spidey was helped by Captain Marvel, although Spidey will likely be moved. You know, of course, Iron Man and Pepper. This big bad boy is actually going to go right here. However, we're going to change this shelf out to a 60-inch. This is a 48-inch, and I actually have it spaced quite, you know, good. I can move this bust a little to the left, move him to the left, move at least half of him on this shelf, move him over, and remove that bust totally. And at about right there to right there is going to be Hulkbuster. Hulkbuster will fit width-wise here, but he'll be facing this way. This will allow me to view all of his amazing back detail, side detail. He'll be a centerpiece to the room. He'll be part of the Marvel display, but technically separate from the bust display, because this will all be life-size busts. Although I may consider putting just Iron Man 1/4 right here, because he would not go next to him. I could probably also even fit that Iron Man right there, and make that work. But we'll figure it out. But if anything, I might just keep Iron Man 1/4 here, then the bust, then Captain, which isn't a big deal. But Hulkbuster would be a fantastic center display because there's so much amazing detail in the back. And right now I can't see any of that because it's hidden by this wall. So putting Hulkbuster here would have crazy good presence in the middle of the room. I'd be able to see all that amazing detail. And it would be a good transition into the Marvel, because you have Marvel transitioning from DC, and I think it would work really good. Now, making this a 60-inch also gives us additional space right here, which made me think that I can move Spider-Man bust and Spider-Man 1/4 here. We remove Groot, and then basically we would do bust 1/4, 1/4 bust, and likely have Spider-Man here, move Venom bust. And then that would open up that spot for, let's say, for example, a future Star-Lord bust, which I'm quite confident Queen is going to make, because they're running out of options on MCU characters. They're going to have to start making those type, like War Machine, Star-Lord, Ant-Man, Ultron. I definitely would love an Ultron, but I feel like Star-Lord would be the next character I would want to represent Guardians of the Galaxy. Plus, timing-wise, it would make more sense to do an Ant-Man or a Star-Lord this year with Guardians 3 and Ant-Man 3. So I think those are going to be the next two MCU busts. What I hope is it's just a masked version, because I don't care to see Chris's face. I want masked with rooted hair, although it could just be a wig. And I want the bust to be like a cheaper, like $1,500 bust, similar to one of those. I don't want it to be a 4,000 silicone with a face that, you can remove the mask and it's his face. I don't want that. That's too much. I just want the mask look, bust, make it that tall, call it a day, charge me $1,500. I don't think Ant-Man is 100% necessary. Like, I probably would not buy an Ant-Man. And War Machine I wouldn't buy. I only want Iron Man and Pepper. So really, Star-Lord's kind of the only other character I want. Of course, outside of the females, which they've already stated they will not do. Because if I could choose, I'd much prefer a Black Widow, Scarlet Witch. So that is the idea for this setup. I think it will look really good. And we could also technically just do Captain Bust here, not Hulkbuster. I will show that Photoshop as well, although I think it works a little bit better doing Hulkbuster here based off the nature of who he is and all his back detail, where Captain won't have a ton of back detail nearly as much as Hulkbuster. So I think this will look really good. We're going to keep our DC setup. We're just adding Thanos, but that's a good transition from Darkseid. We'll be able to fit Thor, Doctor Strange, and Captain Bust all in this display, and still get Pepper, which, by the way, she'll arrive in a few days. And I think it will work really, really good. Now, it does come down to one additional thing, and this is a huge maybe, is right here. So we're definitely doing Harley and Catwoman busts, but what I'm contemplating and considering is selling off those three, keeping Aquaman just right there in the middle and not doing Aquaman and J&D Mera in one display, but instead keep him there and do Mera bust and J&D Mera. Then you would have the 3 J&D girls with the 3 Infinity busts. That would look amazing. It'd be like an Aquaman display underneath, above a Batman display, because these are all Batman-related characters. So you got Batman, Aquaman, Trinity, Justice League. Technically this is all Batman, really, till right there. And then you have my MCU life-size bust setup and so forth. You'd have a Spider-Man display. I think this can work really freaking good. So I'm definitely considering selling off my Suicide Squad line. Now, I do love this line. I think it's amazing. I just have to think, what is going to be more impressive? 3 Prime 1 1/3, and I still love each of these, or 1 Infinity Studios Mera bust. Now, I know a lot of people don't like Amber Heard, but I don't care about a celebrity's personal life. I truly don't. I care about how they are in the movies, how they act, how they look, how they portray that character. And I absolutely love Amber Heard's performance of Mara, both physically, acting style, and everything. And my wife agreed that she did an amazing job as Mara in Aquaman. And I think look-wise, she's one of the most beautiful women in Hollywood. So I definitely am considering her bust. I do love this line as well. I think it's absolutely fantastic. I love Deadshot. I like Leto Joker, and I still absolutely love that Harley 1/3. So that's the hardest one to ever even consider selling, because I still really, really love that statue. So I just have to consider what's better, Suicide Squad line or Mara bust. It's definitely a tough one. I could technically do Mara and Mara bust just right there and do Aquaman maybe in the corner, but then he'd be, intercepting Marvel at that point. But yeah, something to consider for sure. What do you guys think about that? Because that one I'm still like, I know Joker doesn't sell good at all. Like Deadshot, I don't really see him for sale. I see Harley going for $1,500, like damaged ones for $1,500. I'm like, mine's mint. So I'm quite confident I could get $1,500 for Harley, maybe $900 for him, and maybe $700 for him. So it would even totally fund Maribus, because Maribus is, let's call it with shipping, $4,250. So I'd still have to fork out $1,200 to get Maribus. So it's not just a solid these three for Mara, it's these three plus $1,000 to get Mara. I think one thing that will make me decide this is once I get Catwoman and Harley bust, then I'll be like, okay, yeah, that's definitely worth it. And then I will buy her. But if I get Catwoman and Harley and I'm like, yeah, it's not that much better than these three, then I'll be like, let's just stick to J&D Mara and call it a day. Because that still represents Mara, and I love the J&D Mara. And when we do move Spider-Man over here, we're going to move Black Widow Queen there, and then return Iron Studios there, and do Iron Studios Wanda there. And yeah, I'm really digging it. We're definitely going to keep the Marvel 1/6 here in the hallway, my little Avengers Cove, which I do really like. But let's show you the Photoshops. All right, so first off, this is how Thanos fits. As you can see, he's about 2 feet wide, and that's how wide this shelf is. So he actually does fit perfectly, and he actually fits more comfortably here than he does on my other shelf, because the other one's not as deep, and this is deeper. And it looks great above Queen Thanos. So I think this does work. All right, not bad. All right, so here's kind of the idea, although I wasn't able to Photoshop these, but if you scoot all this over, then you just simply do Black Adam there. But, that'd be like Thanos next to Darkseid, which is sick. Alright, and this is the idea with Mara, how that would potentially look. Mara bust, by the way, is 31.10 inches tall, so she's just as tall, more or less, as my Iron Man Mark 50 bust. Technically, he's slightly taller, but he's kind of to the top, so if I do Mara down low, her tiara or top of the head is going to be probably just barely underneath that black bar. So she won't sit super comfortable, but she is looking slightly up. So I don't think she would look bad down low. But again, I'm limited on space, so this is kind of the only option if I want to get Mara bust, which I still am leaning towards because, man, she looks so beautiful. Now, this will look better in person. It's just, But yeah, that's kind of the idea is Hulk with Doctor Strange, Loki, Thor. Iron Man's actually more right here. That's not a good representation. But that's kind of the idea is 2 and 2, 2 and 2. With Thanos there. And then this is if we did Captain here. You do Iron Man like we already had planned, Captain here. Now, I actually don't plan to move Hulkbuster until I get Captain Bust, which is probably 2 years out. So it's definitely not moving anytime soon. And I still think this would work and look really good. To give me 360-degree angles of him. But again, this is a taller piece and probably goes better here. And that way I could have the Trinity together. But I still do like this. And this isn't even with the extended shelf. The extended shelf's going to be here, so Captain would be more forward in this scenario. Yeah, and this is my buddy telling me to move everything. And then that is sort of the Photoshop. Granted, Thor is not angled this way. He will be angled this way, you know, and I can't have him at an angle, but that's kind of the general idea is you do, you know, the whole Hulk Buster with Iron Man, Captain Thor. So yeah, overall, I do think this is the best route to go. Also, this is in hands of the new Alien Warrior. I haven't got shipping notice yet, but holy Jupiter, I cannot wait for this. But yeah, overall, like I said, I think this is a super solid plan. Very excited for it. And this is the way, folks. This is the way. Some people are going to say this is cluttered, but keep in mind, this is Photoshop. It's going to look a lot better once I get everything set up. So here is Giz. Everyone keeps asking about Raiden. Here's Ray Ray. Raiden, say hi. Then there's little Gizmo. Raiden doesn't get along super good with Gizmo right now. Raiden like growls and bites towards him because he's so active. And he's always like chasing Raiden and jumping at him. So we don't keep them together a ton until Raiden can warm up and Gizmo is not super active. So that's why you guys don't see Raiden as much. But once they become besties, which they will, then you'll see them both down in the videos. Anyways, folks, that's it for today's video. Let me know what you think. Like, comment, subscribe. Have a great day.